Hi there. I'm Kevin E. West, veteran television actor, as well as the president and founder of the Actors Network. We congratulate you on your choice to purchase an ABG video. Our mission? Quite simple, to provide you with the best entertainment education from top Hollywood professionals in the industry. By doing so, you potentially save yourself thousands of dollars as well as years of your life making silly mistakes. ABG videos can be assisting to parents of performers, longtime veterans, as well as beginners. And do trust that the information found on an ABG video is both accurate and cannot be found in one place anywhere else in the world. So with that said, we'll just let the video speak for itself. Enjoy.
Hi, Alex Cary.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to ActorBizGuru.com.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It feels like you're ready to rock and roll.
Ready, yeah.
All right, let's just jump right in. Alex, describe for me what it would be for you like, almost like a day in the life of a showrunner on Homeland versus just being, say, a writer-producer on Lie to Me.
Well, it depends on your position of on the show. If like on Lie to Me, when I was running the show, I am actually responsible for every script, every cut, and everything. And either I'm delegating to the writer of the episode to keep going, because my belief is that you start writing a script, you actually don't stop writing a script till you finish the playback, i.e. until you finish the cut and then putting on the soundtrack. I believe that the writing, that the writer and writing can affect the process all the way through. So if I'm not writing the episode and I'm just producing the show, but I'm not paying attention to that episode, and I'm actually not doing my job. So it's a pretty all-intensive thing from an executive producing position. If I'm a writer on a show or a writer-producer on a show, and I'm not producing a particular episode, my day is pretty much involved with A, breaking story, B, usually writing a script, or prepping another episode for production.
So when you're the showrunner, you're just going to simply have to run around more doing a lot of this and that.
Yeah, a showrunner has to do 100 different things a day, or an executive producer has to do a lot of different things. So, for example, on Lie to Me, I would come in, I would usually be involved in the writing or rewriting of a script at some point along the process. So you're either rewriting it conceptually or tweaking it conceptually, or now you're in the cut and you're reconfiguring or restructuring in the cut because one part of the production hasn't worked. So you're doing any number of those things, plus going into the writer's room to make sure that the break of another episode is going well. And the further you get into a television season, the more if you think of production of production as a train, at some point halfway through the season of production, not of airing the show, but of actually making it, the train catches you up, and the cow catcher at the front of the train scoops you up, and you're sitting on it typing, and just trying to stay ahead of the train actually hitting you. So it's and then you do more and more and more and more and more all day. It's a 15-hour day, pretty much every day, and depending on various factors like actors and the network, how the network services and supports the show, or the studio, it can be 15 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Does your personality prefer having your hair on fire, or would you rather just be writing?
Yeah. I can't say my girlfriend's sitting here. I prefer to do the whole lot.
Yeah.
Only because I'm really proud of the final product, and I'd like to I like to have an element of inclusion in that final product. The problem for me of just being a staff writer on a show or a writer producer is really your involvement. Ideally, your involvement's in all of it. In reality, your involvement is in specific episodes and not that many.
You having more of a thumbprint on the show.
Well, it's not just a thumbprint. It's like I'm more involved with running around production, talking to actors, talking to the art department, talking to the DPs, and making the show better from week to week. I'm not particularly interested as a personality in a graph that looks like that. I'm actually more interested in that. I'm even more interested in that, but I'm not interested in that.
Have you ever had to fire a guest cast actor and or had the conversation at least amongst your fellow producers? And if you have to do it, how do you replace somebody in 8 days?
I've never done that, and I've never been interested in doing that. I believe you make a decision, you live or die by it, and you support that decision, and you support the person in that decision. I'm not interested in firing people. I actually was involved in an incident where a writer was fired, which was a mistake. It didn't do the production any good. It didn't do me any good. It didn't do that writer any good. Would rather not do that to an actor. I'd rather write around the problem. And my philosophy in terms of show running and in terms of producing episodes is that in television is that the solution is almost always in the writing. That's why I believe that the writing starts when you put pen to paper and ends when you deliver the show, and there's nothing more you can do with it. I don't believe the problems can be solved by firing people right in the middle of production.
Have you ever seen it happen to an actor?
I actually haven't. I don't think I've seen it. I haven't come close personally, but I've been in a situation where we got very close, and that was a behavior issue.
So it was behavior, not talent.
A very talented actor, behavior, and to be honest, we wrote around the problem.
It starts affecting that train, doesn't it?
Actor who turns up an hour late, irrespective of the problem, is somebody who pushes you, a couple of rails closer to that train, and you just don't need it.
From the producer's chair in drama television, what do you feel is your director's number one job?
A writer once said to me that the script should be good, the show should be better. So the director's number one job is to add a vision and is to add elements of production that we can't think of in writing, sometimes beyond story and character, to tell the story and to add an element of surprise and improve the foundations that we've laid. Okay. More specifically, a director can bring a language to a piece that we can't on the page. Otherwise, I mean, this might be oversimplifying it, but otherwise, I think my scripts would probably sell really well in the bookstore.
Okay, but as the showrunner, how do you handle a director who's adding wonderfully to your script, but they're taking too long?
That's really hard to justify. Again, that's another part. That's another element that brings the train just a little bit closer to your backside. So you have to justify that in. Again, you have to write around the problem a little bit, and you have to be prepared. I mean, that is going to be my answer in terms of producing, because that's the thing that I'm best equipped to do. I can't, if a director's, or I don't want to, actually this relates back to your actor question, but I don't want to step in and go direct it that way, because that's firing the director, even for a scene. That's not interesting to me. I'd rather go, you know what, I'll take some lines out, or you don't prioritize, don't worry about this scene, because maybe we can do without it. So there's a flex. I don't like to do that. I don't think any writer likes to do that, but you have to be prepared to do that. So I think, and again, you have to, the directors who you've got, it's very, very tough to for the production to get rid of a director, even for a couple of scenes. You're better off him just doing his thing, supporting him, writing around the problem, and then figuring it out in the cut.
Okay, so as the head of a show, Alex, do you have a line item budget for the number of actors that you can Taft-Hartley throughout the season in terms of paying the fee for hiring a non-union actor? Or is it really just something that sort of occurs organically as you go through the season?
We do it by the seat of our pants. There is no budget for that.
Do you like doing that, as a showrunner or producer, and that it strikes you as a cool thing to do, when applicable?
Yeah.
Would that be a desire you would communicate to your casting director?
Yeah. I mean, I've actually the casting department is one of my favorite departments. Well, on Lie to Me it was because the casting directors were just such cool people. So I'd just like to hang out with them. But a casting director to me, a good casting director to me is actually someone who really can keep that train away from you in terms of giving you really good help and support. And I think the best way to treat a casting director is the best way to treat an actor, and the best way to treat a director is to trust their skills and to trust their art, and to give them the freedom to work. And give them the incentive to do it fast and give you as much time with the decisions they've made, if that answers the question.
Yeah, you're just not micromanaging when someone gets Taft-Hartley.
No, I mean, and I do, that you do get micromanaged a little bit because there are some studio politics in that. But, this is the other side of the writing part. This is the other... the other element, in addition to the writing, that I think makes for a successful television producer, and that's a personality that can convince people to make adventurous decisions, and a sense of humor. Look, we're making television, and if you sit in somebody else's office long enough, that they can be reminded that there's a war going on, they're probably going to be involved. They're probably going to Taft-Hartley somebody eventually.
Give me a list, Alex, of the items that are removed from your job description when you don't have to be the producer or the showrunner and you're just the writer of an episode.
There's a subtlety to that question in terms of what I do, because a lot of this, there are no written rules on it. And it's about sort of personal responsibility and personal love for the show you're on. Right now, I'll give you. It's actually kind of a timely question for me. I'm a co-executive producer on Homeland, which is a new show being launched, and it's quite a high-profile one for Fox and for Showtime. And I wrote the first episode, not the pilot. I wrote the first episode after the pilot, which I'm cutting now. And I just delivered a draft to the studio last night, a cut to the studio last night. There's going to be 3 or 4 more cuts of that episode. At the same time, I've been writing the 4th episode, which I start shooting on Monday in Charlotte, North Carolina. As well as I'm also now breaking and outlining the 8th episode, which I'm also writing and producing. So I'm about to go and produce an episode I just wrote for an 8-day shoot in North Carolina. But I'm not absolved. I don't consider myself absolved of my responsibilities to the cut of the first episode or to the writing of the 8th episode, actually, and as well dealing with the arcs of the subsequent episodes that take us to the end of the season. And the reason is not because I'm particularly industrious or anything else. I really believe in this show, and I really want it to work, and I believe that I can be of use. So I'll keep doing everything I can until somebody says you don't need to be doing that.
Do you feel, for your position, that the philosophy you just expressed is more common or less common amongst your peers?
I would say that I may be a little bit more of a workaholic than some of the others.
Okay, so if I'm the top of show guest star on a hit series, go ahead, if you would, and describe my general disposition when I'm asked to come to the table read in terms of preparation. Are we talking performance ready, rough knowledge of the script, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, rough knowledge of the script, I think, is fine for a table read. But more important than that is a certain attention to detail and an enthusiasm. You can tell. I just did a table read yesterday for my episode, which shoots next week, and I was dialed in on the telephone, and I can actually tell who's into it, who's into the table read or not. But that'll translate into my slightly egotistical brain, because that's my script out there, that if I pick up on it, a lack of professionalism and I'm not talking about a lack of preparation. I'm just talking about somebody who's just sitting there because they have to. I'm going to pick that up, and that's when I start thinking, I could write around that problem.
Are you telling me not a series regular on, say, a table read that occurs in the 4th season of a show, that a top-of-show guest star is sitting there at the table read giving you that vibe during the table read?
Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable.
I've seen it.
Wow. I'd like to remind that person, Alex, that I'd really like the job if they don't.
Well, that's kind of how I think too.
Well, for an older actor who's a series regular, I get it, but I got to be honest with you, for somebody in my position, that's pretty hard to swallow.
Yeah, I have to say also that I'm not a fan of table reads for that reason, because it's a slightly there are mixed emotions, and I'm not looking at it completely objectively. And you know, look, if you go on to if you're shooting an episode of television and the actor's kind of not really making an effort, which I've seen, because that particular actor might feel like they're kind of slumming it, doing a procedural network TV show between movies or whatever it is. When you're in production, there's an easy way to deal with that. No, I should rephrase that. There is a way to deal with that. My particular way, because I actually really like actors, and I also like the leadership challenge of getting people to do what they're not actually doing. That's kind of fun for me. At a table read, you can't do that. So what happens is you go, as a writer, producer, you kind of go you internal on that, and you're kind of going, oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Like up yours, buddy.
Maybe rewrite around it.
No doubt, man.
But it's like auditions as well. It's the similar kind of thing. No, auditions is rarely you're going to find that, but don't overdo it at a table read, I would say as well, because you don't want... You want to gauge where the star of the show is and all the rest of it, but don't overdo it, because then you're going to give too much. You really want to just get through that table read under the radar, to be honest, but being committed to the project, if that makes any sense.
So an unknown actor being proactive snail mails a piece of actor marketing material to you directly at the network. How do you handle it? You
don't have time really for unsolicited stuff, and in television you're kind of it's kind of a breach of protocol that I would do better if somebody wanted to contact me directly. I would do better with them trying to call and talk to me than look at a picture. I'm just not. It would fall into the nut bar category a little bit, the pictures. It's dangerous sending in pictures unsolicited.
So you wouldn't just forward it on down to the casting department?
That's a mood thing. I can't really give you a professional answer to that.
No, that's great. It's a mood thing is a great answer.
Okay. It's that's a lottery ticket that person. And the problem with that is, unless that goes right for whoever sends that picture in, they've kind of screwed themselves. They can't. It's going to be difficult. If I was sent a picture by an actor, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's a little strange, and I don't really want to deal with that because I haven't got the time or whatever. And then that actor comes in, and for some bad luck reason for them that I remember, I'm gonna associate that. There's something unprofessional about that to me.
But direct calling you wouldn't be?
Calling me wouldn't be. Calling me might. I don't know. It's really odd. It's never happened to me. I've had a lot of letters from actors after they've shot the episode,
right?
Which is great. But something coming in, not through the sort of system that's designed to handle with it. I would say, in all honesty, that's not going to. That's 9 times out of 10, that's not going to end well.
And that's why I love your mood timing comment, because it's so subjective.
Yeah, look, I mean, if I got a picture of somebody coming in, they wanted to do 3 lines in the show, and we happened to have something and that fit the look, but that is...
But that's timing. That's
Yeah.
just like, oh, well, that's what that is.
Yeah, then I would definitely
If
investigate
it fit, if it worked.
Like, I'm just trying to think what I'm shooting right now. No, seriously, if I'm... okay, so for example, there is a character on my show, this next episode, that actually requires quite a good actor. But she doesn't say a word. And that's kind of the gag with the character. She's a CIA officer who says nothing. But she keeps coming into rooms and doing little pieces of business. Now, if somebody sent in a thing, and I saw it, and there was a resume, some sort of resume on it, and I thought, well, that's the character I was thinking of, yeah, then I would do something about it.
Have you ever pushed really strongly for an actor that you did not know to get on the show, and then they get on the episode and fall flat on their face? How do you handle that?
I wouldn't say flat on their face. I think that, again, I think that's really difficult to fall flat on your face. If you fall flat on your face as an actor, well, principally as an actor, then you're not being supported properly by everybody else. So I think that somebody's always got something to offer. But I've seen that. I've seen the actor not live up to the expectations of the producers, or fall quite a long way short. And my instinct is to spend more time with that actor, just trying to get on the same wavelength. And it doesn't. And actually, what I do is, and I don't have a lot of experience with this, although I actually really like actors. So I kind of like an excuse to go and work with an actor. So I'll just go and hang out, between shots and goof around, and get some sort of rapport. Because what I've found is that when they're shooting and they see me, they feel there's a fan there, and they feel that they rise to the occasion a little bit, and they understand they understand the language. If you're the executive producer of the show, they feel that they have some kind of secret language with you, and because I like to give really weird kind of pieces of direction that are just. I'm trying really to think of a specific example, but I did recently do it with an actress, and it was I can't remember the example I gave, but I gave her an example that had nothing to do with the scene, and it was really weird, and she
Caught up to your wavelength.
I gave her a piece of instruction, and it's difficult because you don't want to step on the director's toes. But I did say to the director, "Look, let me handle this. I think I can do this." And I told her there were several people in the scene, and the scene was written as conflict between her and one other person. And I said, "Take the conflict, and everything you're saying to him is meant for him." And it wasn't really. I was just trying it, and it was great. So I think the answer is this. For me, the answer is that people will disappoint you, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of it. You've got to find another way to deal with it.
Well, you clearly have a way to handle that situation, because it will happen.
Yes, nobody's ever going to live up to the way you imagine it as a writer on the page completely. Some people are going to exceed it or give you something you never saw. Some people are going to fall way short. But your job is to rewrite that in your head and in that actor's head so that you get something that you can work with.
Alex, why in drama television, when a show becomes more successful over time, it seems like that there suddenly is this incredibly long list of producers? I mean, if the show's more successful, does it become 3 times harder to produce? Is this really just about longevity, or is it just about money?
Yeah, it's about money and people. It's also about money, and it's about incentivizing people at the beginning, and then if they do their jobs well, people will become producers in the post department. Actors will become producers. They're sometimes executives at the production company might become executive producers or producers on the show. It doesn't actually make the show any harder to make.
So the number of people on the producer list with the show does not necessarily equal the concept of too many chefs in the kitchen.
Well, it does, but that's a weak showrunner who lets that happen. If you're a good show, you can have everybody can be a producer. If you're a good showrunner, you're a good showrunner, and that's a case of telling them to go and enjoy their new kitchen, but keep out of your hair.
How does someone manage to become you? I mean, how does somebody work up to becoming a drama writer / producer and now showrunner for television, aside from good old nepotism?
The first answer would be luck.
Okay.
Nepotism you've dealt with.
Yeah. Talent in there.
I don't know that much about nepotism, to be honest, in this business, in the writing business. It doesn't. You got to be able to deliver the goods to a certain extent. Yeah, talent. I believe. I like to believe that talent has something to do with it. But you know what? The other thing is hard work. And the most important thing, I think, is understanding that you're on a steep learning curve. And the moment the curve starts to go like that, that's when it's going to end in tears. You have to keep it like that. I actually this week I learnt a lesson myself. I've been relatively successful. I consider myself relatively talented. And I got a little ahead of myself this week, and I had a script with the network, and there was a little bit of a glitch with it, and I had to go and dig it out a little bit and repair it and fix it, and I understood that as easy as my week would have been for my learning curve to be just steady. I'm in a much better position now because it was a tough week. So I think that you have to be aiming high all the time.
So it seems like it's an awareness of the learning curve coupled with a really strong work ethic.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I think, one of my earlier answers, which had to do with the nature of it for me is making it better every time. And I think that's pretty hard to sustain. I mean, it's exhausting. But I think you have to have that intention to make it better every time.
And does the stage of production you're in make a difference?
It doesn't really matter at what stage of the process. Who will go, you know what, it's only TV. And that's, to me, the killer. Right. And that's the guy who turns up an hour late. That's the guy who doesn't deliver as an actor. And that happens in writing. It happens in everything. And you have to keep it. You have to keep people working hard and working at their best. And you have to do that for yourself. And it's hard to do because it's a slog. A 13, 22 episode thing of a TV show, that's hard work.
Yeah. Alex Cary, you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you, man, for doing ActorBizGuru.com.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another outstanding video from an outstanding professional in Hollywood. I can't tell you how much this information would have meant to me if I could have gotten it before I moved from Atlanta back when I started my career, or even if I could have gotten some of this stuff in the first couple of years that I lived in Hollywood. But I can tell you this, you now have it at your disposal, right at your fingertips. Be sure you take advantage of it, because whether you live on Sunset Boulevard or whether you live in Sydney, Australia, the Actor Biz Guru Library will save you tons of time and tons of money over the course of time. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care.